Let's talk about a kingdom that sounds like it's straight out of a fairy tale, a land just overflowing with unimaginable wealth. But here's the twist. In this story, the king's power is every bit as absolute as his fortune. Welcome to the incredible and kind of paradoxical world of the Sultan of Brunei.
We have to kick things off with the numbers, because honestly, they're just staggering. Get this. The Sultan has a private collection of 7,000 cars. No, that's not a typo. Not 700, 7,000.
And the price tag for that little hobby? Oh, just a cool $5 billion. This isn't just a car collection. It's a literal treasure trove on four wheels. And believe me, his taste for luxury doesn't stop at the garage door.
His own home, his personal palace, has, count 'em, 1,788 rooms. I mean, you can't even call that a house. It's basically its own city, and it gives you a little peek into a lifestyle that is almost impossible for the rest of us to even imagine.
So let's pull back the curtain on this kingdom of gold. We're going to dive right in and see what it's really like to live inside the world's most lavish lifestyle.
So that number, 7,000 cars, it gets even wilder when you start breaking it down. Just look at this. The collection includes more than 600 Rolls-Royces, over 450 Ferraris, and at least 380 Bentleys. I mean, every single one of those is a masterpiece of luxury.
But here's the real showstopper, the crown jewel of the whole thing, a custom 24-karat gold-plated Rolls-Royce. For a while there, Guinness World Records actually listed it as the most expensive car on the entire planet.
Okay, so that's how he gets around on the ground. But what about in the air? Well, the Sultan doesn't just have a private jet, he has a flying palace. It's a gold-plated Boeing 747 worth over $400 million, and then he spent another $120 million just doing up the inside. We are talking gold wash basins and crystal chandeliers on an airplane.
And that kind of wild spending extends to pretty much everything. Can you imagine flying your favorite barber all the way from London to Brunei just for a trim? That's a $21,000 haircut. Or, just casually dropping $70 million on a Renoir painting. For him, that's just another Tuesday.
Now, the center of this whole world is the Istana Nurul Iman. And this isn't just the Sultan's home, it is the largest residential palace on Earth. You think Versailles is big? This place is 3 times larger, with almost 1,800 rooms, over 250 bathrooms, and a banquet hall that seats 5,000 people. It's just royal on a scale that's hard to wrap your head around.
So, the question you've got to be asking is, where in the world does all this money come from? How can this tiny little nation on the island of Borneo possibly pay for such a gigantic lifestyle?
Well, the answer is actually really simple. Oil and gas. A whopping 90% of Brunei's entire economy comes from its massive reserves. And since the Sultan has total control over the country, every single barrel of oil that's pumped out of the ground adds directly to his own enormous fortune.
But here's the thing. The Sultan's story isn't just about the money. His power is just as absolute, just as mind-boggling. As you're about to see, he is way more than just a monarch.
Think of him as wearing all the hats, all of them. He's not just the Sultan. He's also the Prime Minister who runs the government, the Minister of Finance who controls all the money, the Minister of Home Affairs, and the Commander of the Armed Forces. He's not just in charge of the state, he is the state.
And this incredible power isn't just some unspoken agreement. Nope, it is literally written into law. Back in 2004, a constitutional amendment officially made the Sultan infallible. That means, legally, he can do no wrong and is completely, 100% above the law.
So all of this leads to the real question, the central tension of Brunei. If you're an average citizen, what is your life actually like under this kind of rule? Well, it's a fascinating and strange mix of paradise and paradox.
It all comes down to what you could call the citizen's bargain. On one side, the benefits are amazing. Your education is free, your healthcare is free, and you pay 0 personal income tax. But the flip side is that you live under a very strict interpretation of Sharia law, which includes bans on things like alcohol and pork, plus mandatory religious observances. And when we say these laws are severe, we mean it. A new penal code that was rolled out fully in 2019 means that punishments for certain crimes can include stoning and amputation. It's a really stark reality that exists right alongside all that incredible wealth.
But, a reign this long, a fortune this huge, it rarely stays completely clean. And over the decades, some pretty significant cracks have started to show in the royal family's perfect golden facade.
Back in 1997, a massive scandal erupted when a former Miss USA, Shannon Marketic, sued the Sultan and his brother. Her allegation was absolutely shocking. She claimed she was held as a virtual prisoner and was expected to work as a prostitute.
So what happened? Well, the case never even made it to trial. A court in the U.S. threw the whole lawsuit out, citing the Sultan's sovereign immunity because he's a head of state. It was a chilling reminder of how his status puts him beyond the reach of the law in other countries.
And the trouble hasn't just come from the outside. The family has had its own internal crises, too. In the 90s, the Sultan's own brother, Prince Jeffrey, was accused of embezzling billions, that's billions with a B, from the state, basically wrecking the family's reputation on the world stage.
Okay, so we've talked a ton about the Sultan, his money, and all the controversy, but Brunei is more than just one man. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the nation itself, because it's got some pretty surprising sides to it.
For instance, did you know that Brunei's full name actually translates to Abode of Peace? Or that its literacy rate is an incredible 98%? It was also the very first country in Asia to ban shark finning. And it's home to this amazing historic village called the Venice of the East, which is built entirely on stilts over the water. Pretty cool, right?
Which brings us to our final big question. When you weigh the tax-free benefits and the peaceful society against the absolute monarch and the incredibly strict laws, what is Brunei? Is it a peaceful paradise, or is it just a gilded cage? I guess the answer really depends on who you are and what you value most.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.